Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Tonight we have a very, very special guest. I've been really excited about hearing from her. Hesperus, would you like to go ahead and introduce who our guest is?
Happily, we are honored to have with us this evening the head of the Temple of Transcendence, a gifted poet and a respected leader in the Nightkind community, Gaybrielle Gray. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Hesperus, would you like to start?
Sure. For those who aren't familiar, the Temple of Transcendence is in Michigan. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Could you tell us a little bit what the Nightkind community is like in Michigan for those of us who are scattered around the globe?
Yeah, so I feel the Nightkind community in Michigan is currently pretty scattered, which I'm trying to remedy some. And there's been some excellent people helping as well, like Tempest and with their Bloodlines International Michigan group. But yeah, I would say we're mostly in the shadows in Michigan.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I can relate to that. Here in Richmond, there's not really much of a scene. There's a few scattered individuals, and we don't get along with each other very well. And so there's almost no beacon drawing us together. It's really nice to see developments in areas that traditionally have only scattered, uh, separated souls brought together to build a sense of community. Sorry, Raven, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you about to say?
No, that's okay. How did you personally find your way into the night kind community and then eventually into Caprianism?
Well, in this lifetime, I was born a Caprian. And my first interaction with the Caprian and meeting another Caprian besides myself was at a conference. And I was like, wow, why am I so drawn to this person? Why do I feel this kinship with them? And from there, that sparked my interactions with other vampires. But immediately, I felt the beacon drawing me in.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Now, Raven, I know you mentioned the term Caprian. Gabby, could you explain to folks who maybe aren't familiar, what does the term Caprian mean? What does it mean to be a Caprian?
Yeah, so to be a Caprian means that you're a spiritually immortal vampire. That does not mean you're physically immortal, but you have underwent an alteration, which gives you more access to your higher self and the spiritual or magical realms. And you often reincarnate around other Caprians. And we are a soul group. And a side effect is vampirism, although that wasn't the original intention of the Caprian alteration. It was to give us more access to magic and also so we could potentially have more memories from past lives and not spend so much time continuously relearning the same lessons from lifetime to lifetime.
That's really interesting. Does that um, mesh naturally with? I noticed that you also are a Gnostic bishop, and I know that the Gnostic tradition similarly devotes a lot of attention to maintaining memory and sense of self beyond the first death. Do you find that your experience as a Keprian informs your calling as a Gnostic bishop?
Definitely, they mesh well together. I would say, actually, probably what shapes my experience or goes best with my vampirism is my animism, actually. So I very much live relationally with all of the energies, spirits, and beings around me, which is perhaps different than how some vampires are more dominating, I guess, or taking the things that they want. I very much look around and listen and practice active listening with everything around me and understand how we can work together. So, as much as some people might not see animism going with vampirism, that's what I would say ties most closely. And of course, with the Gnostic Bishop stuff, like in the past life memories, that goes well.
I lost my place. Here we go. Can you please tell us about the Temple of Transcendence? What is it and what inspired its creation?
That's a great question, and I am very passionate about that one. So, what inspired its creation was seeing places in the vampire community which I thought could be improved upon, and understanding previous negative experience I went through several lifetimes, especially as a counselor or Kitra vampire, and understanding that there was a lot of lack of equity and not feeling very empowered, or like there was a lot of autonomy or helping people really step into their power. So I wanted to provide a space for that was safe and helping people grow in a way that made sense for them. And my temple mostly focuses, of course, on energy work, and we discuss ethics a lot, which is very important to me.
Excellent. Now, you used the term Kitra and counselor earlier. Would you mind explaining for some of our audience who might not be familiar with the term what a Kitra is?
Yeah, so there's different vampire groups. I am a Caprian. In my group, we call my alteration counselor, and some of the other groups, they call them Kitra. Each alteration has unique strengths, and a Kitra or counselor strengths is often their emotions, their creativity. They have the closest connection to life or life force still. We're very good at drawing in energy. A lot of us can be sort of enchanting in a way and very fun to be around, I guess.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for explaining that for us.
Uh, how has being Keetra shaped the way you lead the Temple of Transcendence?
Yeah, so it's very strongly shaped. I did mention previously some about understanding a lack of equity. So I very much try to lead by meeting people where they're at, and I help guide their journey, but I do not tell them what to do really ever. Besides, I say there's certain ethical lines they should not cross, such as not feeding on pregnant people, not feeding on children, certain things like these. But I very much lead with love, which is perhaps different than how some people approach leading. And I try to look very deeply and understand who they are as a person and what I can offer to help enrich them versus trying to shape them to be more like myself or a certain ideal that I have.
That makes a lot of sense. So, how does that set the Temple of Transcendence apart from some other Keprian organizations that folks may be more familiar with? I know that you mentioned that you had experienced elsewhere in the community um, a lack of equity. Uh, I'm not sure if we want to name any names per se, but I know that the Temple of Transcendence prides itself specifically on setting itself apart. Could you go into some more detail for us about how your emphasis on ethics manifests itself in the organization?
Of course, yeah. So I have very strict rules about not allowing any sort of romantic or sexual relationships amongst anyone in the temple. It doesn't matter if they're both newer initiates or it's multiple people who are all less experienced. Before I allow someone to join, there's an agreement that nothing like that will occur. Also, I make sure to not charge people money for anything, which I feel like does happen in some organizations. And I try to provide a space as well constantly. If anyone is feeling uncomfortable with something, I very much welcome them to come to me. And I also encourage the members of the Temple of Transcendence to question me actively if they feel that there is an issue or they think I'm not providing enough support in some way. So it's very much not like I have some divine manifest power where I'm lording over them. I want them to feel like we are working together constantly instead of a more hierarchical thing. And there's very much say, like, I ask them, well, is there something specific you want to learn this week? How can I help guide you in your journey? And I very much try to always meet them where they're at, which is different, I feel, than a lot of organizations. And specifically, what I've noticed in Caprianism as well, where it's how can you serve me, perhaps, is what a lot of leaders think, where I'm trying to be of service to my members.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful. Something you've spoken about is the role of love in your life and magical practices. How do you understand love, not simply romantically, but as a spiritual or magical force?
Yeah, so love is very important as a force. And with my animism and with my vampirism, I try to understand people and all things as much as I can and view that from a perspective of love. Not everyone will share the same values as me, but when it's reasonable, I try to have a lot of empathy and sympathy for people. And I also do something which some people consider somewhat radical, I guess, is I don't just fight for love, I fight with love. And I see that as a step beyond. So if I ever have an altercation with someone, when it makes sense or when it's possible, I will directly tell them and try to ask for accountability first. Because I do believe everyone, in most situations, deserves the right to try to course correct, to learn from their mistakes, and overall that will serve the community and everyone better. But not everyone does that, I guess. So that kind of sets me apart in how I see love. And I very much prescribe to all the different types of love. So not just romantic love, but like friendly love and love for the environment and all these things. And I think in general, the world would be better if we all tried to love a little bit more. And that doesn't mean I love people who are out there hurting people, but I try to move with love when there needs to stand against them.
Absolutely. It sounds like the Temple of Transcendence is really uh, marked by compassion and accountability, uh, elements that I think are crucial to our spiritual growth, yet sadly underemphasized, I'll say, in a lot of traditional organizations and communities. So I'm glad to hear that they have a central place at the Temple of Transcendence. I think that's a recipe for, uh, well, for transcendence, for elevation. Gosh, I'm really excited uh, to see what comes of that in the near future. Speaking of which, I saw that you just very recently, gosh, I think it was a day or two ago, had an in-person educational event that you hosted. That's another issue that we have heard brought up by several guests is the need for the type of information offering that just can't really necessarily be fully conveyed effectively online. Having places to meet in person and experience someone's vibes, like the encounter that you described earlier when you met another Keprian face to face for the first time in this lifetime. That's something that just can't really be summarized effectively in a book or online. Having those events is so crucial. How did that event go, by the way? Oh, I see a cat in the background. Hi. Sorry, I was
Yes.
distracted by a cat.
It's
Um,
it's Black Cat Appreciation Day today too.
oh,
So
I am appreciative. It was nice to see them. Oh, yeah, how did your educational event go?
it went really excellent. I had a good mixture of vampires, people who participate in vampiric practices, and non vampires, which is exactly how I wanted the event to be because I do feel raising community awareness amongst ourselves and others is very important because I want to make us real but less threatening. So that was good. And I was able to give both a lot of spoken knowledge and we got into a lot of practice exercises, including how to put up a shield to defend against vampires or so that they cannot feed on you because consent is super important to me. So I wanted everyone there, vampire or not, to understand like there's a way that you can protect yourself energetically. So that was great. And we got into a, a good demonstration about ambient feeding versus surface and direct. So that was good too. And overall, everyone was pretty pleased, and they said having it in person was very useful to get feedback on their techniques and to understand a lot of the ethical parts that I went to more. So I was happy to be able to have it. I don't love public speaking so much, but I do feel a responsibility because I noticed that lack in our community. So I was like, I can be the vampire I wish to see in the world. So
Wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad that it went well. It sounds like that was, yeah, that's exactly what we've heard come up multiple times from other guests as an important facet of the community that we just aren't seeing a whole lot of people stepping up to do. Um, so many people just aren't willing to do the uncomfortable thing and fill that need. So it's inspiring that you are facing your fears and elevating the community in the process. I think we can learn a lot from that.
thank you, Hesperus. I think as a being who has power in a lot of ways, I very much feel a responsibility to do what is needed to help the community, to protect people, to create change, because it is untenable to me that patterns will continue. If we have power, we should wield it in a way that is beneficial. And at least that is what I believe and what I try to teach in my temple. And hopefully, I continue to reach further out into Michigan and potentially other places and demonstrate that that's possible, even if I have to public speak.
That's awesome. I think that what you're doing is inspiring and is needed in our community. Um, how has your understanding of love changed the way you understand yourself as both Kitra and counselor?
Hmm. Yeah, so for a long time, I did not love myself, actually. And I part of that was being a vampire and trying to come to terms with that, because the ways that I saw it demonstrated didn't mesh well with my ethics or my values. And so learning to love myself and learning how to be a loving vampire has been really important on shaping my journey. And I think we can choose to be the vampires we want to be. And I study a lot about love, I guess, too, to understand how I wish to embody that. One of my favorite authors who writes about love is Bell Hooks, actually. I read a lot of the feminist authors. I'm also very inspired by Audre Lorde. And so, how I use love, I do a lot of healing work, actually. Uh, so, with vampirism, we're good at extraction magic, which is like what feeding is, like extracting things. But if you can tune into certain frequencies and you're a skilled enough energy worker, you can actually extract pain some. And if you know how to transmute that, I feel that to be a very loving act that you can weave into your practice. And for a counselor or a Kitra, we're often, not always, but we're often viewed in a very sort of sexual light, almost separate from the strength of what love can be. So for me, helping demonstrate that that can be different in the way that I offer care, but I do not allow it to be forced out of me, and all the different ways that there is to care and love, and that can be sexual, but it doesn't have to be, has been very liberating in the way I see myself, and hopefully the way that I can help inspire others.
Thank you. So it sounds like you're, through honoring your nature and following your path, you've not only found a path towards um, elevating those around you and uh, loving yourself more, but blazing a trail for others who are seeking to embrace their natures in ways that are more ethical. If all of our texts are written by people who have no qualms about simply taking what they are able to take, regardless of its impact on others, it can seem as though it's inherent to our nature, when, as you said, it's a choice um, to prioritize the needs and the safety of those around you, to enshrine consent as non-negotiable, even when it's uncomfortable, and finding ways of loving and connecting and building bridges that everyone does consent to and that are mutually enriching. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you envision a more ethical vampirism uh, on a broader scale?
Yeah, so what I envision is what I hope people will adopt, but I also don't have the right to tell what people to do. But I hope that a more ethical vampirism will look like not luring people in under false pretenses, whether that is students, whether that is what the vampire community often calls donors, whether that is fans or sycophants or whatever it may be, that we are honest about potential impacts from feeding or energy exchange, that we don't ask for worship or to be put on a pedestal, whether we're just a normal vampire in the community, whether we are a leader. I also would like vampires to stop punching down, if that makes sense, in their habits, like going after those who they consider easy prey or viewing people as prey. I would like for that to stop because everyone has their agency, and I don't like seeing people as prey. I don't even really call the people that I engage in energy exchange with donors. I know that's a very common term in the community, but I just like to see them as partners in an energetic exchange because that takes away the hierarchy of it and adds in respect for them. I would also like to see more honesty about potentials in what could happen if someone undergoes an alteration to become a vampire, and more information being provided about the physical, emotional, mental, and long-term effects to yourself and those around you that can occur, and have it be taught more as a responsibility and a very long path instead of that you will become Sir Edgelord or Mistress of Sexy or whatever is sometimes taught. So I would like that to change. And yeah, in general, I would like vampires to be more co-relational and less predatory. Yes, we do need outside energy, but we're already powerful. We don't need to make ourselves out to be these supreme beings or to take advantage of others who in some ways have less power. So that's kind of what I would like to see change.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think there's a big temptation amongst some folks, especially early on in their experience with the community, to embrace an archetype um, of apotheosis, just about where I'm a god amongst mortals. I'm here to, reign over and that can be like a pendulum-like response to having felt ostracized, alienated by society, like they were beneath others for so long. I think a big sign of maturity in the community, and which is something I would also like to see a lot more of, is realizing that it's not some cosmic curse necessarily, and it's not some superpower all by itself. It can be either one or both, depending on what we decide to make of it. And ultimately, as mature beings, spiritual beings, we have to learn how to make the most of whatever we end up with. Uh, Now, you mentioned alterations as a core aspect of Keprian identity and spiritual practice. Could you explain to some of our audience who might not be familiar with the alterations, what briefly those are? I know some information about them is a bit more controversial and private, but just generally, if you could explain what the alterations are for us.
Yeah, so the alteration in general is a process that one undergoes that is a psychic or metasurgical process, which permanently changes one into a vampire. There is the counselors, which I described. There is priest, which gets a lot of metasurgical or psychic surgery abilities. They are the least grounded in physical reality, and they have often a lot of gifts with higher levels of magic. And then there is warrior. They are the most grounded in physical reality. They can be pretty good at making energetic weapons. And they all have their weaknesses as well. With most things come strengths and weaknesses, and doing the inner work and learning how to step into those strengths and manage those weaknesses is very important for all of the alterations.
Now, with a system that so fundamentally alters someone it can be really hard to deeply understand ahead of time exactly what it is that you're agreeing to. I know that you mentioned that you take a lot of intentional steps towards improving consent and the possibility of consent. How do you navigate the process of informing people of what to expect during and long term from their alterations?
Yeah, so I would say I actually have probably taken perhaps the most steps to help prepare people. My mentor and I have authored over a 250, 300-page guidebook to help people prepare. And I make it quite unglamorous in certain parts. For example, one of the pieces I wrote is called The Joy and Pain of Millennia. And it asks if you think you're a strong person and would you be able to get over all of the heartbreaks, meeting your ex again, and not letting that ruin your life, like your ex from 5 lives ago, and being able to integrate all of the trauma, because if you're having memories coming through, you will have died several times and you can remember that. I often describe to my potential initiates how actually my magical journey started with being haunted by entities, but also by nightmares from my past lives about dying and the ways that I had died or been murdered or suffered through several things. So I make it very realistic about the burden that you must carry. I also describe all of the drawbacks of the different alterations and how it can impact you, and the metasurgical things that will occur. And of course, the benefits you could potentially look forward to. But I have very extensive literature that is given to each potential initiate, and they are also encouraged to ask as many questions as possible, to take quite some time to review it, and they're given as much time as they need. So I feel like that's quite different from the sort of cloak and dagger that occurs in a lot of organizations. And I feel, not even I feel, I strongly believe this kind of information and this depth of information should be offered and freely to anyone considering undergoing something that will change you until the end of time or the end of this cycle or whatever you believe occurs. And so that's very important to me, to be completely upfront about all of the potential things that could occur, because that's not happening. And that's something I strongly spurn. You need to go into something as informed about it as possible.
Thank you so much.
You're also a poet. What role does poetry play in your personal and spiritual evolution?
Ooh. Yeah, so my first poem that I ever wrote was when I was like 5 or 6, and it was about how hot and scary a volcano was. And for a long time, I didn't know, as much as I gush. Well, I don't know if I gush ever. As much as I talk about love and all these things now, I didn't know how to feel my feelings or talk about them for a long time. And that ties into my neurodiversity. So for me, poetry started as a way to understand what I was feeling and to get it out, even if I wasn't talking about it with anyone. And now it's evolved into, it helps me see the world in a deeper way and have more empathy for everyone. And I also use it to try to inspire people now, to help them tune into their feelings or draw attention to certain issues. I write about justice a lot and connecting to others. And for me, poetry is such an easy way to connect to those currents and help spread what I want to see in the world.
I love that. That's amazing. Are there things that you can express through poetry that you find difficult or sometimes, well, yeah, difficult to communicate through ordinary conversation?
I am not a strong conversationalist, so yes, definitely. I like observing. I
Mm-hmm.
like tuning into things. If I'm at a party, I'm probably dancing or sitting in the corner watching everyone
Mm-hmm.
and trying to understand their experience from what I can glean or believe I can glean from there. So, yes, definitely. In my poetry, I can be as bold as I want to, whereas getting the words out is a little more challenging sometimes in conversation.
I totally understand that. I am similar in some ways.
I find a lot of freedom in the rigid structure of the poetry I compose for each new moon. It has a very, very specific rhyme scheme and metrical structure, but that helps me to formulate exactly the set of images and words that I am trying to evoke. It helps me. So
I I find
yes,
that so interesting, Hesperus, and I've peeked at your poetry, and I love that for you that it makes you feel like it helps you glean what you want to say, and it makes me appreciate all the differences between people and art because I would definitely chafe at like, oh, I'm going to write it this way. I'd be like, oh, but occasionally I do that, like if I'm writing a haiku or something, but I find it really beautiful how you convey what you want to in your writing. I admire it.
thank you. That means so much to me. Uh, I have really enjoyed the works that you shared online. We should compare poems more often.
Yeah, definitely. I love reading people's poetry and we can compare.
Um, Gosh, we are closing out. What would you say is your vision for future generations of the Nightkind community?
More freedom, more transcendence, more working in community with all beings, whether that's humans, other kin, other spiritual immortals. I would like in general for everyone to get more magical, for us to explore what's possible together, and for that to be a choice for people to engage in without any coercion or without the negative paradigms and ways that I've seen humankind, vampire kind, and all beings be somewhat enslaved to patriarchy, to colonialism, to these sorts of things. I'm hoping that we can grow beyond that for all of us, for me in future lives, for you in future lives, and more inspiration, more love, and more exploration in a way where we can fantasize about how we want the world to be and create it together with no masters.
Nothing. Masters.
Love that. I did want to ask with writing, sometimes I find that we learn things about ourselves that we didn't really consciously realize. Have you had that kind of experience where you write something out and you're like, oh, this is how I feel specifically about this type of um, energy? And does it, like, for me, it can create like spiritual revelations at times. So I was curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that you're experiencing that, Raven. That's a really wonderful and exhilarating thing to go through when that happens. I definitely did used to experience that, especially in the periods where I wasn't loving myself so much, and or I went through some relationships in the past, romantic and non-romantic, which I guess I wasn't always honest with myself. So my writing definitely helped me uncover that. At this point, I wouldn't say that really happens. I've done several thousand hours of exploring psychology, neurobiology, cultural anthropology, all of these sorts of studies, and communication and somatics. So, as much as that doesn't happen for me, I hope that it does, like, or it doesn't happen for me anymore. I hope that it does again, because that's such an exhilarating thing to happen. It's like, well, this flowed out of me, and obviously it was there, and I was able to learn more about myself. I always love learning more about myself and everyone and everything around me, even if I'm not happy with the way that it is. I stay curious about how that can change, or that knowledge can enrich me, or how I want to move towards being more in alignment or creating alignment around me with my values. So it used to happen a lot. I hope it happens again soon, because it's very inspiring.
Yay, it's good to know I'm not alone in that department.
I don't think anyone's ever alone, though it can feel that way. And I hope together all of us can change that.
Hmm.
I think it's possible.
I know it's possible. I believe in us.
Me too. Speaking of which, uh, I believe in you. If you decide to write a book that you would like to publish broadly, I know for a fact that you are a gifted writer, and we would definitely help you promote the heck out of that book. So do let us know if you decide to commit anything to the kind of text that you'd be open to sharing widely. I know there would
Yes.
be a lot of interest.
I am writing a book, actually. I'm trying to secure a publisher because I don't have enough followers currently, I guess, but I am writing a book, and it is about, I can give a general, it is about love and healing, and the skills I learned from going on that journey myself. And it's very feminist inspired, it's very queer coded, it's very neurodivergent and disability friendly, and it's a lot of what I want to see. And it changes the conversation on love, intimacy, energy work, ways to be creative. And I am very excited to get it out there. I hope it can help people, and I'm sh- I'm quite confident it will help at least someone. But I am excited to see how it can inspire people, and how others can digest the material and transform it into what would be most helpful for them, because it's very much a book um, that you work through.
Gosh, I can't wait. I'm really excited for this. You will keep us posted, I hope.
For you, perhaps.
Okay, excellent.
Message me later about that because I may have some connections for you that can help.
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah, newer ones as of today. So, yeah.
Ooh, alignment.
Alignment is a crazy, amazing thing, isn't it?
When we move together, imagine all the things we can accomplish.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the other questions is if someone listening tonight is newly awakening, newly discovering the night kind community, or still trying to understand where they belong, what would you want them to know?
Look inside yourself and don't let anyone tell you what you have to do or how you have to be. Understand your values and how you want to move. And don't be too harsh on yourself if you think, I'm making a mistake as far as, well, I'm not doing this perfectly, or, the sort of vampire shame that a lot of people go through. Um, be tender with yourself, understand it's a journey, and don't look to false prophets because no one should tell you you must shine my boots. I mean, I don't think anyone says that, but um, always look to your values, understand that you will continue to change, and your perspectives now versus 10 years from now could be different, and that's also okay.
Thank you. That's some incredible advice.
Thank
Where
you.
can our audience find you online if they want to get to know your work a little bit better, or maybe if they're Michigan locals and they want to see you in person?
Yes, so I've somewhat recently, started making an online presence because I was hidden, I guess, the hidden witch of the woods for a long time. But I can be found at the Temple of Transcendence on Facebook. I also, which is a little bit harder to find, Gabby, Gabby Gray, so Gabby Gray on Facebook. I am friends with Raven, so you can probably find me in that way. The Scorpion Witch is my handle on Instagram. My website is also thescorpionwitch.net. So any of those places you can find me. You could also find me on Linktree, or Linktree. I don't even know. I'm not hip enough. But that would be Gaybrielle Gray, so the name on the screen, and then last name Gray, Gray. So could also try to find me in subtle reality. That might be a little harder. Send me a subtle reality chat, but however it works.
Awesome. Question for you. This is actually something that's been on my mind. What advice would you give established members of the community about maybe becoming better ancestors, teachers, and mentors and stewards for those who come after us?
Do the thing you want to see. Offer support to those who are already doing it. It's not a glory contest. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you know another vampire or organization that is in alignment with your values and is doing the thing you want to see, offer your support. You don't need to say, I am spearheading this campaign. If it's already out there, that is a waste of resources. And if what your goal is to actually change things, lend a helping hand. And if you don't see the thing, go out and do it, go out and be it. Make space to interact in person when you can, because that's very valuable. It helps the newly awakened, those who are not yet awakened, and even those who are awakened, because community and support is so important, and being a role model and demonstrating that we can be different and we can choose to move in a way that is ethical. So, yeah, offer support and do the thing, even if it's not glamorous or if you don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy talking that much, but here I am because I see a need, and so I serve where I can. I think vampires should understand with power comes responsibility and go out and do the thing. Not everything has to be laurels and honor, and just maybe what you need is to work and do some volunteer work at a soup kitchen or something and raise up awareness that vampires can be good and have hearts, or maybe you need to host an in-person class on basic vampirism techniques. There's a lot to be done. Everyone has different strengths, everyone has different capabilities. Leverage what you can and learn. You might not always start out perfect, but you can learn along the way and adjust, and don't be afraid of being judged that you're trying something different or doing something different. If you see a need, just do the best you can, adjust as you go on, and we got this.
Excellent advice.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your experiences and your wisdom. I look forward to having you on again soon when we're promoting that book. I have no doubt we will together make that a reality in no time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you both for having me. I'm very grateful, and I know you both came a little tired. I hope this enthused you a little bit, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Gwen, would you like to go ahead and come up?
Yeah. I think that you had some of your supporters in the background. They may have gotten the link thinking they were watching, but they watched from the background, so that was okay. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm not the most tech genius, so I thought the link was the link. I apologize, Gwen.
No problem. I knew that they were here for you, so I let them sit in the back and watch. So you guys in the back, I wasn't ignoring you. I can't communicate with the people in the back unless I have, but yeah, they were watching, so you had supporters.
I'm glad that to see so much love from them.
Yes. Good show, guys. And did you have anything you want to announce about next week or anything event-wise coming up?
So next week we will be having a very special surprise guest. Very exciting. And then there is so many events coming up.
Well, I know one of them is the main Paracon. That's one.
So we will actually be at the main paranormal and horror conference. I will be doing readings and have a whole bunch of things set up. Hesperus will be with me. We'll be creating some awesome manifestations that'll be really cool. Please come and see us. It's a 2-day event in September.
Mm-hmm.
There is also the Boston Vampire Ball that's coming up at the end of the month. Check that out on, I think it's Vamp Fangs. Check that out if you want to come and hang out with us. Let's see, what else? Hesperus, can you help me? Is there anything else?
She's tired.
We'll also be in New Orleans in October. If you want to look that far ahead, it will be an incredible turnout, I'm led to believe. If anyone needs an excuse to come and bask in our radiance,
I need one.
Yes.
Well, you already have an excuse. Just get on a plane and come to Salem.
It's money, baby. I know. I want to actually go to the New Orleans thing because when I was down there, we were so busy. I got to enjoy it, but I didn't get to sit down and talk with some of the folks down there. So I would love to go back and go to that with you guys. But I don't know if that's even possible. So
there's a ball coming up. Just saying, we can wear dresses and run around town.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm trying to work things out. You guys will also be at MassCon in the first part of October, won't you? Yep.
Yes, it's just not on the schedule yet, but yes.
I will too. I'll be there. So I'm
nice.
hoping while I'm there, just saying,
Yeah.
That would
I
be
wanted
cool.
to thank you as well, Gwen. Thank you for doing the text.
Of course.
It is nice of you. I appreciate
It's
it.
been, oh, you're welcome. And you're, I don't know if your friends, your supporters, your whatever they are in the background, guys, welcome. I wasn't trying to ignore you. I want to make sure everybody knows that. But no, I appreciate you coming on. You guys have a good show. So, all right. Well, if you guys are ready, I am going to pop out, and you guys can say good night, and we'll get out of here.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.